Halifax has hills. Much of the downtown sits at the bottom of one, meaning that bike commuters have to make their way up some pretty steep inclines to get home at the end of the workday. When I asked on social media which roads people wanted covered, a common request was, how do I get out of downtown? To figure that out, we need to know where the hills are at least steep. I've calculated the grade for each of the major paths out of the downtown area that a bike commuter might take. I plotted them here on this map, with reds being steeper inclines and greens being less steep inclines. There are three routes that are noticeably less steep than others. Morris Street, heading towards the south end, Cogswell, heading towards the west end, and Devonshire towards the north end of the peninsula. In today's video, I'll cover all three of these routes, starting at the downtown ferry terminal for each and heading to a specific location in each part of the city. Up first, I'll cover the southern route, heading from the ferry terminal to Happy Garden Chinese Food on Morris Street. As always, I'll be playing a game of +1, -2 along the way. Each time I encounter some infrastructure that makes my trip safer or more convenient, I'll add a point. Each time I encounter something that makes the trip less safe or less convenient for me, I'll take 2 points off. You can keep track of how stressed out I am and how much I'm enjoying my ride in the heads-up display in the bottom right. This is the lower Water Street protected bike lane. I'm only going to be on it for about a block, but it's nice to have. This is the Hollis Street bike lane, and it lets me travel southward more or less uninterrupted all the way through downtown. These elevated bus loading platforms are constructed so that they don't impede me at all. Going up Morris Street, there's actually no bike infrastructure. Because I'm going uphill, I'm not quite as able to keep pace with the motor vehicle traffic, which can lead some drivers to become impatient and start weaving in and out of traffic somewhat erratically. This can be stressful and probably under the wrong circumstances could be dangerous. Okay, back to the start. This time I'll be heading to the local off of Gottingen via Cogswell. Obligatory point for the lower Water Street bike lane. I'm filming this on the weekend, so it's not really that obvious, but this is actually a major artery in and out of the downtown. On weekends, it's probably quiet enough to make use of to get out of the downtown towards the west end of the peninsula, but on weekdays, especially during rush hour, if you're leaving work downtown, honestly, it's probably not worth it, and you might just want to stick with whatever sucky, hilly route you were going to take anyways. Also, there's no bike infrastructure along this route, so obligatory -2 for that. Back to the ferry terminal one last time. For the final route, I'll be heading to the Caribbean Bliss and Breakfast Cafe on Novalee Drive. To get there, I'll use the Barrington Greenway and Devonshire painted bike lanes. And one more point for the Lower Water Street bike lane. Most of the transitions between roadway and bike infrastructure in the city are extremely awkward. This one, at least in this direction, is pretty smooth. It's easy to get onto the Barrington Greenway. The Barrington Greenway is generally well maintained, doesn't have any real potholes or maintenance issues. It's just nice to bike along. The cross rides make it pretty easy and uncomplicated to cross this intersection. The wait times at this crossing are brutal. This cyclist knows how long the wait is going to be and has decided to just continue riding along the sidewalk illegally because there's no point in waiting to cross. If we want people to make good use of our bike infrastructure, then we need to make it useful for them to do so. Immediately after crossing, I have to dismount from my bike and walk it across a crosswalk, further slowing me down. So the total time I've spent at this intersection is probably on the order of 3 to 4 minutes. On the plus side, this is the first of the 3 routes I've covered that has bike infrastructure actually going up the hill I'm covering. That's pretty useful. Putting the painted bike lane in between the parked cars on the right and moving traffic on the left functionally narrows the size of the lane for me because I have to stay away from the right line due to dooring risk and the left line due to risk of people effectively driving on the line. This makes me feel like I'm kind of riding a tightrope whenever there's a lot of parked cars and a lot of traffic on either side. Painted bike lanes aren't ideal, but this one runs for the entire length of this hill, which is exactly what you'd want it to do in lieu of any more comprehensive infrastructure. So that's great.